Welcome to Thoughts Off the Stem. Thank you for joining the sesh with me, Justin Barone. I hope life's being good to you. I hope you're having, a good time. If you're going through anything right now, I hope this gives you a little bit of a distraction for a bit. If you're new to the show, hi. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining the sesh. Hit the follow or the subscribe. Let me know what you think of the show. Leave me a comment or a DM. You can also tell me where you're tuning in from, because I like to know where I'm affecting places, you know? I like to know where I'm getting in, creeping in. And let me know what you're maybe puffing on this week, if that's your thing. So this week, I was thinking a couple things. And one of the things I was thinking about is being an online creator, okay? So my question is, is it a question or a statement? I don't know at this point. I think it's kind of a question. Like, how come the people that are that are coming up, these younger kids that are like creators on TikTok, right? I get that they create content, but where's the actual creativity? You know what I'm saying? Because from what I notice lately is that there's just a lot of recycled, this person put out a video and then like 400 other people just mimic the video. Like, creator used to mean that you were creative, that you came up with like fun or entertaining, thoughtful ideas that kind of people hadn't really talked about or heard about or read about, but they all think about it, you know? What happened to that? Where did that go? Because I look at what I try to do here, and I try to at least be somewhat creative and original. I don't try to copy someone else and then get attention off that, you know? It's kind of funny because like that just means that, or points to the idea that like that's what our society does. We're so starved for attention, okay? That if somebody puts a TikTok out of you like sitting on a toilet playing some game, that thing becomes an ad for that game, and then it becomes like people remix it, people stitch it, people do all these different things to it, or they recreate it in their own way, and then that's the thing they do. Like, imagine if you were growing up in the 80s and you recreated Prince. You did exactly what Prince does, look like him, walk like him, talk like him, sung like him. Like, you can't do that, but I'm just saying, imagine you did that. You know how much flack you would take for that? Nobody would let you live that down. Okay? You wouldn't make it anywhere. You would be known as, the guy that wanted to be Prince. You know? But now it's okay. It's okay to take someone else's idea and run with it. Like, remember when Joe Rogan destroyed Carlos Mencia's career by calling him out on stage? Do we forget that? The guy stole jokes with proof, and like people saying, yeah, he stole my joke, you know? He maintains that he didn't, but I don't believe him. And like, that was a thing. His career ended. But now we cancel people for the stupid shit that they do when they're younger and the dumb things that they, say to their friends or do with their friends, as opposed to the people that are actually just copying and pasting their attention, their content for attention. So like, what happened to content? Content creator means create content, right? Like I know that it can be anything. All right. But I'm saying, like, there's so many people that I did a video about asking, I didn't do a video. I cut a clip from the podcast asking about, why the government was protecting us from gummies and limiting their potencies versus everything else. Okay. That thing did 11,000, almost 12,000 views. Okay. On TikTok. So, okay, yay. And it sparked a pretty good discussion in the comments. Like, there was a lot of discussion about what was going on. And And then I look around TikTok. Okay, that had information. That mine had information in it. Then I look around TikTok and I see people slapping each other in the face. Okay, playing stupid games. I mean, I get it. There's a section for that, but like, what I'm saying is, if you want to bring your creation to life, right, and be known for creating exceptional things, in my opinion, there has to be a level of originality in that, and you have to, I don't mean just like take an idea and put your spin on it. I mean like come up with the whole thing and make it original. So yeah, that's what I think. Dude, it's ridiculous to me. Like, how do you... Wait, no, I was saying something. Oh my God, I just had a brain fart. Okay, I've been smoking lemon links, and sometimes it makes my brain go fuzzy. It's a good thing I'm talking about this, creating content, because like, you can't write that. Oh. But yeah, so I was on, my video did like 12,000 views, and then I'm watching these other videos, and it's people just recreating the same thing over and over again, and you're talking hundreds of thousands of views, And as much as I would like to be, I wouldn't want to be famous. I just want to be recognized for good work and a thoughtful product, and something that's funny. Okay, so there's a few things that I want, but like, that's why I always try to go a little bit off the head, like off the cuff. I try to stay to my lane. I try to think of things. I try to have original thought. I try to sit back and be like, but what if you did this? And what if you did that? And then actually try to put that in a message in some way. I'm not trying to just, dress up like a nutsack and do a TikTok dance and then get 100,000 views. Like, what is the point of that? How does that serve? What does that serve? So yeah, I think that there's a lot of people out there that are really seeking attention. And instead of doing all these stupid TikTok, why don't you just go outside, meet your neighbor, say hello, enjoy some patio time, I feel like too many people are just like, kids make friends at school, right? And through different groups that they're involved in. And then adults, we don't go outside much. Like, sure, you have friends, but they're generally friends that you've had for a long time, right? Especially when you're up in your like 40s. There's not a lot of new friends. And so I think that because everybody at that age has like these obligations and things that they have to do, it takes them away from just hanging out like you did when you were in high school, right? So you have a lot of free time to think and record. And so I think that that's sort of like what drives us to come to this and have a conversation. But I also think that it drives desperation at every age. Of like, I don't have that many friends, and if I don't do this dance correctly, then I can't get more friends. I don't know. I just think that that's the case. I think we're starved for attention, and instead of trying to create something new or to try and, I don't know, I think it's too easy to be able to make things and then call yourself a content creator. Like, I don't call myself a content creator. I call myself a podcast guy. I don't even do that. I say I'm Justin. I have a podcast. I don't really know if this is a good or bad podcast, I listen to it. Sometimes I think it's funny. And then sometimes I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? But I think that's kind of the beauty of podcast. But it also shows you where society is at, because even like a guy like me will set up a podcast to talk about, whatever, because there's a market for it. But at least I try to be, my intent is to at least come up with creative or have some creative, like to think that I'm someone that tries to come up with a creative topic, or at least be creative in like a popular topic, when I'm discussing it. I like to try and give my sort of obviously point of view, but I like to try and give, a sense of like humor to it. Doesn't always work. Sometimes I miss the mark quite decently, I should say. But I try. And I can't get my head around how some people, and again, I shouldn't really pick on any age because it goes across the board. Some people go online and then they copy the concepts and ideas. Like, have you ever looked through TikTok and had to pass through like 5 or 6 videos of the same thing before you were like, oh my God, finally I found something that's interesting. I'm tired of watching, or I'm tired of seeing like dudes show what it's like to have a wife. Like, we know if you have a wife, and I know you're trying to make a joke out of it, but you're just copying and pasting the content that one guy came up with, and you're like, oh, that's funny, I could do that, I could put that, and then I'll get 100,000 million views, whatever. And they do. And I think I'm a little jealous of it, because like I refuse to do it. I'm like, I find it pointless. Having said that, I'm sure there's a lot of people that watch this podcast going like, this is pointless. But I try, okay? I try my best to give somebody at least quality entertainment or information, And I would like to pretend that like I'm the funniest dude in the room. I'm not, but I try. Sometimes I'm funny. I can be funny sometimes. It's easier when there's people than when you're just coming off the top of your head with stuff, because I'm not like, Rodney Dangerfield trying to give jokes and being like, today, I once saw my wife and she said, why are you here? And I said, I don't know. And, whatever. It's just, like I said, see, that's a good example. Can't do it. I'm not that great at it. So I just try to talk about the topics that are, floating around my head and things that I interact with every day, because I feel like it's relatable to, somebody out there. Somebody out there is going to hopefully listen to it and be like, that's a neat idea. That was a funny little bit you did about this, or this, it was a thoughtful episode that hopefully made somebody think about their state, where they're at, and how they can improve. But like, I feel like when you're watching TikTok, or when you're watching, maybe it's my algorithm, maybe I am just the one that sucks, but you're watching all these videos and you get like a little bit of pepper and a shit ton of salt, where you're like, oh, that was good. Like, I like watching videos about people learning stuff or telling you something, or like biographies, things like that. I like stand-up comedy, but I keep getting fed these videos of dudes, just putting together like a montage clip of guys, doing the thing, like rushing at the end of something to do the thing before their girlfriend gets home. Like, maybe that tells me something. Am I doing that? I don't know. But yeah, like I don't know. I just feel there's no originality, man. You got to come up with something original. Like, don't just do a dance. Do a dance and do other things. Try and do things that other people don't think of doing, or at least having a creative spin on whatever debate or topic or idea you're seeing a lot of in the week. Like, I don't know. That's just my thought. I think it's weird. And I think that people build like a weird sense of self around that. I think, because when I worked at the pot shop, right, there was a lot of younger kids. And I found that, I was talking to my aunt about this the other day. I have found that a lot of young people insulate themselves with like yes men. And they just want to, anybody that says that they're great, they hang around them. If somebody has an opposing view or an opinion, they don't generally hang around them. In my experience, the best thing that you could do is you can have a varying degree of opinions and ideas and concepts, right? And still have friendships with people that believe different things. That's my experience, because you never know what you're going to learn from someone. but I used this example. So I had I had this person that was working at the shop, and she was relatively new to smoking weed, right? And I remember in one of our meetings or hangouts, we were talking about what it's like to smoke weed, and she was telling us like, "Oh, I'm not that much different than, when I don't smoke weed. I don't change. My friends all say like, "Oh, I'm the same," and blah blah blah." And she was very proud of this because like there are people out there where if they smoke weed, they can be high, but it doesn't show, And a lot of people that have a high tolerance or a long experience that's what happens. And she was very impressed with herself for having this talent at just only like a couple years smoking weed, And I was like, I remember saying to one person, I'm like, I don't think that's the case. Like, we got to see. So when we were all hanging out one night, I was paying attention, and that was not true. their personality did shift. Not bad, not in a bad way, but just like everybody else is like they became louder, more giggly, more social. They were more reserved when they're not influenced by anything, They were a little more quiet, and I was like, nope, definitely different. So I stopped the conversation and I turned and I go, hey, or I waited till the conversation was done. I go, hey, so your friends tell you that you're normal when you're high? She goes, yeah. I was like, they're lying to you. It's not true. You are very different. And then I explained why. And I wasn't trying to be mean. Like, I wasn't trying to, destroy the buzz, but I was like, Pete, it surprised me because like how can you be that disconnected from yourself? To not know that if you're under the influence of anything, you're slightly different. You can't keep your composure like you would if you had all your senses firing correctly, And so it made me laugh because it became like a main theme among people. I started to notice that a lot of these younger kids would feel like they were sort of the leader of the group, that they knew better, that they knew that they were the people that people looked up to, but they didn't necessarily reflect on the idea that, well, that's because you're all the same age and you have the same experience and maybe you had a little more. But if you start talking like that in front of somebody that's got more experience than you, some things start to get noticed, And there were a few times where I had to explain, like, hey, you're looking at this wrong. You're trying to be right, but you're wrong. Like, and I tried to explain that because a lot of the times these guys would come to me and ask for advice or whatever, right? In my position, so I would try to like point them in the right direction, or at least try to help them out with some solid advice. And I remember talking to her at one point and being like, you can't surround yourself by people that just listen to you. You also have to have people that will tell you when they're like, no, that's not cool. That's not the way to think, or my opinion differs. So you gotta take into account all these different things. You're going to be very one-sided, and you're going to be very frustrated as you grow in your, working years if you can't be a little bit flexible. And I think it really helps people, or it should help people, to be self-reflective and sort of pay attention to what people tell you, because it helps you discover you, and it helps you navigate better when you're approaching different, scenarios. Yeah. And I think that when you take people out, that when you start adding in people with a differing opinion to your friend group, it starts to change your obvious, it gives you a broader view. So then when you do create whatever you create, right, there's more likely an influence of originality as opposed to just being stuck in your house and thinking to yourself like, oh, it'd be really fun if I, did this TikTok dance and then fed my dog some Scooby snacks and ran around in a circle because that guy on that video did it for 1.3 million views. Like, no, sit down, think about something. Create, you know what you should do if you're trying to be creative? Create a skit. Like, I started seeing these videos come up, and it was, you know how they do on the street interviews, right? So there's this new person, I guess, on TikTok, this girl who wants to, or somebody wants to produce these kinds of videos. Well, they don't have anybody to do it with. Okay. So it's just the same people. It's the same two people. Now, maybe I missed the point. Maybe it is a sketch. Maybe it is like, you know, a satire and like a dig at all these interviews. But I don't know. It didn't seem like that to me. Now that I think about it, I think it is. I think it's somebody making fun of them. Damn it. Well, that's don't listen to that one then. Don't listen to that idea. Listen to this idea instead. Create little movie scenes. You know? Create your own. I get that use elements that you learn, but then create your own thing. You got to do your own thing. Originality is key, baby. It's key to success. Because if you're just doing TikTok dances and recreated content and stitching, that's finite. Because at some point, TikTok is not going to be anymore. Just like everything. Everything has an end date, right? And you're going to go on to something else. I am surprised that with the over push of all this content, nobody's actually tired of it. You know? You see the shifts and you see different a balance and an ebb and a flow to it, but there's always that consistency of the bare bones basics. How I put my shoe on today, and 400 people have that video. This is how you put your shoe on. This is how you put your shoe on, you know? But we only need one of those. Okay? Yeah, that's my thoughts off the stem for this week. Or those are my thoughts off the stem for this week. Be creative, be original, try new things. Okay? Thanks for joining the sesh with me, Justin Barone. I hope you enjoyed the sesh with me, Justin Barone, on Thoughts Off the Stem. I hope you come back next week. If you're new to the show, thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment or a DM. Hit follow and subscribe because you want to know, right? Like you enjoyed the sesh. It's sesh time. Yeah. Oh, and check out tots420.com. What else? That's it. Till next time. Keep your lids low, baby.